Okay. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Peace be unto you. We are continuing the second session on the foundation for a happy marriage based on Islamic teachings. So we mentioned several terminologies last time that govern what marriage is and the relationship between the husband and the wife. I'm going to continue to build on that. And today I want to talk about certain parts of the foundation. Last time we spoke about the principle that men and women are made from one and the same material, which we call it an-nafs or the soul. An-nafs, A-N-N-A-F-S, which is the soul, the self. Okay? So we are made from one and the same material, which means that we are more like each other than we are different. It doesn't mean we are not different. We have differences, but what is common is more than what is different, which means what? We are more humans on both sides of the gender spectrum. We are more human than we are a gender composition. And I gave some examples of that we all desire one and the same list of expectations from each other. Everybody expects respect, everybody expects care, love, attention, support, forgiveness, tolerance, overlooking mistakes, all of the good things we expect. We should understand that the other side also expects the same. So this is the significance of knowing that we are all created for one and the same thing. Also, the other significance of that fact is the fact that we all tend to want one and the same thing. And that means that because we all want one and the same thing, most marriages tend to start on a rocky foundation. Why? Because it's like the social theory. When people get together, they get into 4 phases of getting along. The first phase is storming. Everybody comes in, they don't know much of the other side, especially the deep side of each body. So everybody is coming with some level of fear and concern, whatever the reason is, but that level of fear and concern that things may not go well and things may not go my way. So people start with storming. It's like everybody wants to establish their ground rules. No, no, I don't like this. I want you to know. No, 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 but I don't like this. So storming is the first phase. Then after storming, there is norming. Norming means when the apprehension subsides and you start to get acquainted with each other a little bit more, your fears and anxiety about the relationship also subside. So you start to normalize the relationship somehow. So norming is the second stage. Then the third stage is forming, which is to start working like a team, to start becoming in synchrony with each other, to start trying to be fitting for each other's expectations. You want to be accepted, you want the other side to be settled. So here is where forming starts to come in. Then the last stage is performing to become a productive relationship, that you feel the benefit of this relationship and you contribute to the other side their expectations of the benefits they want. So you start delivering in the fourth stage. So the first phase, which is storming, norming, forming, and performing. Those are four stages that social scientists say almost every relationship goes into. When you go to a new job, when you are moved to another new group of students as your classmates, when you move to a dorm and you have to live with people you don't know, when you are in a trip in a bus with people you don't know. So every relationship that you have, when it starts to work, it starts with storming, then norming, then forming, then performing. Again, storming, norming, forming, and performing. So, because everybody wants to get what they want to get sooner rather than later, it becomes a rocky relationship in the beginning. Some people take shorter time and cut short all of these four stages quickly, and some people keep everything lingering. So the relationship continues to be a struggle even after a year, after 2 years, after 3 years. So some people succeed in reaching the productive stage in a month or two or three if they are mature, if they are in a longer relationship before the marriage, and I'm talking about engagement, then they get to know more. If they use the engagement, and I'll talk about it from now, if they use the engagement for the right stuff, marriage stabilization comes sooner. But if they use the engagement for anything else, then it becomes a very troubling marriage in the beginning, and it goes longer because you have not addressed the main issues. So, what issues should someone address during the engagement? Let me take a step back. Before you get engaged, Islam requires that you do not, if you are a female, you do not engage anybody in any discussion about anything. Anybody approaching you for marriage, give them your dad or your older brother, some male relative of yours that you trust their judgment and you trust that they have your best interest at heart. So if somebody comes to you, says, Sister, I want to get engaged with you, I want to get to know you better, tell them, is this for marriage? If it is, then take him to your family. If it is not, then cut it off from the beginning, tell him I'm not interested. Why? Islam requires this to protect the interests of someone's daughter or sister or granddaughter because men understand men better. That's one reason. The second is, as women understand women better, that's a given, okay? But the other reason is the fact that when a man comes to talk to another man about his daughter, there is zero chance that they will be blinded by how they love each other.
They.
Like, if
Oh, no, I got you.
they can get to warm to each other, they can get to appreciate each other, but the chance of falling in love until they are blinded is zero compared to the chance of a man and a woman getting in a relationship and talking for a long time together. The chance of them getting in love to the point of being blinded by love is much greater than the first case. The third reason is we all, men and women, when we start to get to know each other for the sake of marriage through engagement, we tend not to ask some serious questions. A, to verify who's coming to me, what is their background, what are the references that I should check out, how many times have they been married before, what is the background, what do they actually do for a living, how much they make. But a man to man relationship allows for this kind of set of questions that are very fundamental so that you are basing the relationship on a clear foundation. So these are some of the reasons why a person, man or woman, should never get in a relationship without going through the verification process through one of her male relatives, preferably the father. If the father is there, no one should replace the father. If an uncle is there, no one should replace the uncle. If she has an older brother and he is mature enough, then no one should replace him. But the priority goes to the father, the uncle, and then the older brother if there is any. Okay? If all of those are not good enough, then she can pick someone. Let us say she doesn't have a family around here or whatever, then she can go to an imam to play her protector and guardian to verify that person and get the information cleared so that she can marry on basis of clear foundation and clear information. Now, the other question is, what should we use this period for? So let us say the father has verified the information and he is satisfied. If the father is not satisfied, the marriage should never go forward. If the girl is not satisfied, the marriage should never go forward. But if the girl was married before and she had wedded and consummated the marriage, then her opinion supersedes her father's opinion, or her right to agreement supersedes her father's right to deny the person. Why? Because she has got some experience with which she should have formed a good judgment about men. She's been married, the marriage was consummated, they lived together, and she has known about men's behavior, some of their expectations. She has an example to look for, okay, or to learn lessons from. So her opinion matters. So if she is a virgin, she's not been married before, then she and her father have to agree for the marriage to go forward. If she disagrees, she can never be forced. If the father disagrees, she cannot twist his arm to make him agree. Why? Because Islam looks for protecting the gains you have, even if it becomes at the expense of potential gains you may make. What is the gains you have? You have a family, you have brothers, you have sisters, you have parents. Islam doesn't want a girl to lose that safety net for the hope of her next safety net is working. You don't want to lose what you already have, what you have invested your life in, for a potential that may or may not materialize. So the two have to have agreement. So that has to work by both sides working together with love, respect, and compassion. Okay? What if the father disagrees, but the girl says that it is illegitimate reason? For example, the father may say, he is not from your country, for example, or he is far away from your culture, or he is different in his tongue or color. Okay? While those are on the surface illegitimate reasons, but the father may be right in the sense that people who tend to grow up in one and the same culture, they tend most probably to have a better relationship than people who come from completely different cultures. So the chance is the father is basing his opinion on this. But if it is purely race and ethnicity and all of this, then that is an illegitimate concern for the father to raise, especially if the young man and his daughter are both strong in their faith in terms of several issues. One, understanding. Two, practicing their faith. Three, giving religion the importance it deserves in their life. But if any of these elements is missing, then prayer or anything like that is not a good enough criteria to go on. Because in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says, if someone that comes to you, you are satisfied with their level of religiosity and with their manners and ethics and good principles. If you're satisfied with this, then give him your daughter in marriage. Why? Because religion and good manners are the two most important foundations for a strong marriage bond. Why? Because you have common references to go to. You have the Quran, you have the traditions of the Prophet, you have scholars to go to in case you have a problem or issues or differences. So you have a lot of strong foundations to rely on to keep the marriage going. But if it is a person of different faith or their manners are not satisfying to you, whatever the judgment is, then just don't go for that kind of marriage. Why? Because you are losing the joint foundation for communication, for understanding, and for judgment. So it will be difficult to always judge each other or judge what to do or decide where to go. Everything will become an issue and a big issue for that.
Sorry to interrupt, but so if the poor, what do you say about that? Like for if they don't have enough money to provide for home, family, food, is that a good enough reason to say no?
Yes, it is. Even though the Quran encourages us to be a bit more trusting in Allah and to consider a person for his deen and for his manners, man or woman. Because also there is a hadith that talks about women or prospect women for marriage. So the hadith says that typically women are married because of one of four reasons: either their beauty, or their wealth, or their deen, their religion, I'm sorry, or for their family and relationships. Okay?
Okay,
So
but
the hadith says, pick then the one that is most religious, that's best among the religious people. So in both cases, a man choosing a woman choosing a man, religion and good manners are the top foundations. Could somebody be looking for something more than that? Of course. But does it really constitute a foundation? Not really. But some people are bent on not marrying someone who doesn't have enough money. By enough money, they mean a wealthy person. Likewise, some men don't want to marry someone that they do not see as beautiful in their eyes. And they have a modelist profile for beauty. Of course, the more you put forth of conditions, the less opportunities you will have, and the later and the longer you delay your marriage. So Islam puts religion and good manners as a good enough solid foundation for a choice of a spouse. Okay? So now, what should we use the engagement period for? First of all, engagement should not be announced, publicized. Second, it should be only a relationship under the eyes and the ears of the family of the girl. It doesn't mean that they are informed or that they know. No, it means that that male relative who is working on your behalf, if you are a sister, that male relative has to be sitting with both of you. Why is that? Because it is less likely, less of a chance that you engage in love relationship, and I mean love in the innocent sense, not in a physical sense, okay? You're not going to engage in emotional discussions when you have her father sitting with you. You're not going to talk about her eyes, her body, her hands. You're going to talk about marriage. You're going to talk about stuff that's important. But if you are by yourself in a mall or in whatever place you go to, and there is no male protector or guardian from her side, then the likelihood is both of you can, and it happens that people do exchange words of love and appreciation. Why is this not part of developing a relationship? Because as I said in the beginning, the chance is when you engage in this, you endear yourself to the other side and you fall in love with each other, and both of you become blinded from seeing something alarming. It will be alarming to your sister, it will be alarming to his brother, but it may not be alarming for either one of you because you are already fallen in love with each other. So you will discount all alarms. And then after the marriage, you say, what? Oh, I missed that signal. I missed that signal too. And when he said this, I missed what he said. And I didn't understand that he meant this when he said that, which means, what were you doing if you are distracted from his own discussions? You are distracted by focusing on love prospect. You're not focusing on objectivity and making a good judgment. You're not focusing on if something is alarming, you need to raise the issue. You need to finish it. And this is part of the importance of the chaperone that should be with you until you both decide that you want this marriage to continue or you want this prospect to go away. So the purpose of the engagement period is to collect as much information as you should about each other, to collect and to share. Some people think that I need to collect all the information I can, and that's what they focus on. But if you do not share, your perspective will be missed, and the other side will think that they know everything as they shared everything. But you will be cheating yourself. So, in the engagement period, the ultimate purpose of engagement is to discover what is joint and what is different, where you agree on major issues, where you disagree on major issues. And those issues, therefore, must be discussed within the engagement period. Okay? And many people fail in their marriages just because they did not conduct themselves during the engagement period for focusing on collecting and sharing information, or that they share information but not complete enough, or not deep enough, or not broad enough, or not serious enough. So, for the sharing information and the collection of information to be effective and to benefit both sides have to open up to each other, not in terms of opening your heart, but opening your black box. All the information you know about yourself, and I'm going to talk about this in a minute, you must share your upbringing, your family, your relationship with your family, uh, things that you like, things that you do not like, things you expect in your spouse, things that will make this marriage never work, unacceptable to you. Everything that you want your spouse to know must be on the table. So, what list should we be looking at to make the list of things to share? The list should be as follows. We are marrying based on religion and manners. So we need to investigate those two issues until we are satisfied. So some people are very strict in their understanding of Islam. Some people are a little bit open minded. Some people are extremes, right? So even under the issue of religions, there are varieties of practices and understandings that we should dig deeper. Most Muslims, unfortunately, they say, since he prays, I'm okay with his religion. And I'm saying, but his prayer is only a relationship between him or her and Allah. Likewise, some brothers say, if she is hijabi, then everything is fine. If she dresses hijab, then her religion is okay. And I'm saying her hijab is a relationship between her and Allah. You want to see how their understanding of religion would influence their relationship with you. For example, if somebody believes that Islam puts men on the pedestal as masters and women as slaves or servants, you want to discover this. How do you discover it? You discuss what is your understanding of Islam regarding men and women, comparison, value, relationships, how do they conduct the relationship inside the marriage? Because this will definitely influence how they treat each other. So if the woman is used to a family where men and women treat each other with full respect, full consideration, they don't use verbal abuse or physical abuse or violation of each other's person or rights, and she gets in a relationship where the man believes that according to his upbringing that young girls are beaten up for to obey and to submit, then that is not a relationship you want to get into if you don't appreciate this kind of treatment. Where do we discuss this? It's not after marriage. It's not after the first beating or the second beating. It should be during the engagement. And I want to put a caveat here. The caveat is, and this is very serious issue to pay attention to. Most people put their best foot forward during the engagement. They put a very glossy, glamorous picture of themselves. So beware of people who agree to everything you say, because they are not telling you the truth. There is no chance that you meet a stranger who agrees with everything you put on the table. So if a person agrees to everything you put on the table, the chance is they are not living out the real belief and the real principles. So beware of this. Also, as a form of communication, do not regurgitate without reason or without occasion all what you believe in. Make it one issue at a time and focus on one issue at a time. Which means what? You need to make your own list of issues that matter the most to you. Very important. Let me give some examples. There are issues that a person will not be at peace with anybody who do this, and there are issues that anybody would not be at peace with another person if they do it. For example, if I hate smoke and I get a prospect who is a smoker, I have to be clear. I don't and I cannot live with a smoking person. Then somebody would say, well, but I quit smoking. I will quit. Don't worry. Even before I met you, I was looking for quitting smoking. But now that you gave me your reason, now I have a better reason to quit smoking. Quit that relationship there. Why? Because he can quit until you get married, but then he can fall back because smoking is an addictive habit. Right? Somebody who has been dating with a boys or girls, and they say, yes, I used to have a lot of boys, I used to have a lot of girls that I use as boyfriends or girlfriends now, but as soon as I get married, of course, I'm not going to do that. Again, quit that relationship then and there. Why? Because you are getting yourself in a place that's not secure. Because a promise is exactly that. It's only a promise. So what do? Many people do those stuff and then they may change later on. Yes, that's exactly true. They may, but they may not. So if it matters for you, quit the relationship when you discover that an entrenched habit is in the horizon before your eyes. Am I making it difficult for everybody?
Clear. Same as a person who believes in God or prays 5 times every day and has been before marrying, that's fine. But if they say we'll do it when you meet them, that's not okay. It has to have a basis first.
Yes, you have to have your basics covered. Otherwise, they are not basics. If you don't mind, but don't marry on a promise against an entrenched habit. Why? Because Islam also agrees with the Western adage that old habits die hard. The Islamic statement for that, it says, العادة محكمة.
Spell that out for me.
I would say it in English.
No, well, just spell that because he knows Arabic, so I want him to understand what you're saying.
العادة ALAADAH محكمة MOHAKIMA.
Nope. So do that again. ALAA.
DAH العادة.
Count.
محكمة means controlling. Yes. Which means we are defeated to our old habits. Even if we want to change, we can fall back in the same habit, most likely than not. So the example you mentioned is very pertinent. Likewise, the same rule applies to any habit the person comes to you with. So for you to enter into a relationship, your base foundation must be covered. So there is in your list stuff that you require and cannot accept anyone that doesn't have it. For example, honest living, halal sources of life. I'm giving just some examples. Praying on regular basis. One who does not date as a habit. One who does not smoke, because smoking is a habit. Definitely one who does not drink, let alone take drugs. Okay? And add to this someone who is addicted to electronics today, because this is a deal breaker for most rational people. Because you will be a spouse on the side when the real spouse is boring, which is the electronic that they use or addicted to. Let's take some other issues that people, for example, have as a lifestyle. Some families do not mind sitting men and women chit-chatting and joking and laughing with each other for hours on end. This mixed type of relationship can produce illegitimate relationships. And if you have not seen it, I have seen it. A person who is married to someone, okay, and when they sit together, his brothers are there, her sisters are there, or vice versa, right? And they see and compare. They say, oh, her sister is nicer than she is. Her sister is this, her sister is that. Then they end up destroying the existing marriage for him to marry her sister after an eye contact, exchange of good words, then a meeting, private meeting, then a chat on the phone, then this and this. Then he doesn't like whatever negatives he has seen in his own wife, but her sister looks like a queen in his eyes. That can destroy the marriage in front of our own eyes. There's no necessity for that. So if you're engaged with someone, he comes to visit you, your sisters should not be there, his brothers should not be there. So it is one-on-one, and it is only your chaperone who is sitting with you or going with you to the place you're going to. People develop relationships for 100,000 reasons. You cannot control what makes a person attracted to another person. But we can definitely control this if we control how and when we should meet together, who should be there, what are the limits for those relationships. Okay? Yes.
How long is the best time frame to know each other before you become engaged?
Very good question. Until you have collected and shared all the information there is to collect and share. That is enough for both sides to make a determination. Remember, we said that the purpose of the engagement period is to collect as much information until both sides or one of the two sides have determined what to do. For example, for the marriage to go forward, both of them have to want, they have to agree. But if one side says, I am not comfortable, I am not interested in this kind of person, then it has. Okay, so for example, somebody who's engaged for months, but then they discover that the person coming to marry them, they just discovered last night that he was smoking and they saw him by themselves in the street walking with friends and he's smoking. But he hid this for months. And when she asked him, he said, no, I don't like smoke, I'm not a smoker. That is a good reason because it constitutes a form of cheating. So anytime you discover with certainty that the person is cheating in the information sharing, that is a reason to cut the relationship.
So if they tell you honestly that, yes, I do smoke, what is the best way? What do you need to do? Just go ahead and break it off, or?
It depends. If you can.
I mean, if it doesn't have to especially be smoking, it could be anything really, but if one of your top reasons is not to want a smoker, how do you tell them directly, no, thank you, go?
Very good question. And it's very practical. If any of your requirements are on the top tier, then that should go in the verification process. So if you are a girl and somebody comes to you, your chaperone, your guardian should check that he meets much of your list, preferably all of your list, but at least the basic list he has to match. So if one of your conditions is that no previous dating, is no skipping of prayer, no smoking, no night movies with friends, something that people can change. But I'm giving examples. So whatever you think is a no issue, put it up front to your guardian so that they can verify it. So that you focus on the things that will build the marriage. It doesn't mean that you don't ask about it. It means you double verify it with the person directly. But in any case, if any of your basic requirements are not there, then you make up your mind. Do you want to change your basic requirements, or do you want to change this kind of marriage? It's up to you. My advice is, if it is an entrenched habit, don't go against your own requirements. Let us say, for some cultures, for example, if you marry from some cultures, the society expects you, if you are a girl, to become one of their family servants, meaning You serve him, you serve his family, you serve even his siblings and his nephews. So you need to know, are you going to live by yourself, or is there an expectation in the family that you live with them? In some cultures, there is an expectation that if my older son gets married, right, or my younger son gets married, that I and my wife would move with that son to his home, and his wife will become our servant, making breakfast, waking us up, cleaning the dishes, washing clothes, doing everything we need. So this is an issue for many, many sisters. Where does Islam stand on this? Islam says that the woman has the right to live in her own place for privacy and to be able to build one-on-one relationship with her spouse, her husband.
Okay, question, just a small one. So I'm asking about your advice. A woman, she tends to, if she dressed as scandalous. It's nice looking, but something with the clothing doesn't fit right with me. But the woman does like me. I kind of like her, but I just don't know about engagement because her clothes are not correct. If she says, I will change, do you think that's good enough, or what is your opinion?
My opinion is dress has turned out to be an impediment when the expectations are different. Because it also is one of those entrenched habits. So I urge you to look for someone who dresses the way you expect. I also have something to remark about. You mentioned her dress is not what I want, not exactly, and but I still love her. My suggestion has always been don't engage your emotions before your needs and expectations are fully satisfied. Because your emotions will blind you.
Okay, question, two really. So in America, for divorce, there's paperwork in the court, but have not done prayer. For divorce. I think that's a cultural thing, I'm not understanding it correctly. There's civil marriage
And religious marriage.
and religious marriage.
Yes.
Is if there wasn't religious marriage, but there was civil marriage.
Yes.
Uh-huh. Right, I got the setup, okay. Okay.
Could you translate what she said?
Yeah, okay, so you have the court and you have religious and you are married for both of them, but you're divorced in court only. Are you still considered religiously married? Is that right? Prayer?
No, it means before God, am I married or not?
The court divorce had already been divorced, but you forgot to do religious divorce. Forgot to do religious divorce? How? I have the papers. They divorced us, but forgot to do religious divorce.
Okay, let's clarify. How do you divorce in Islamic way?
Okay,
You should
it's
say,
a better.
I divorced you, I divorced you, I divorced you 3 times, right?
I would rather that we focus on the process of marriage. And after we get married, we can talk about how marriage is performed. And then we can talk about because this is an involvement.
Explaining the process of the time and what we have to, but I want to know right now. Oh, because he will be soon divorcing. No, it's just a question. It's a personal question about divorce, the religious way and court way.
Can
But
we
do
take
mind
it?
hold that? It's not emergency, right?
In the future.
The future, we'll put it down as a question, right? I have already been divorced by court, but not yet by prayer. Am I still married?
My quick answer is this. Since you remember now to divorce Islamically, what is stopping you? It's up to you. So why do you create a problem and then ask? I understand if this is a question coming from a sister, but you have the authority to divorce your wife Islamically. How could you forget this? And now that you're asking the question, definitely you're not forgetting it, you're asking about it. But since you did the court divorce, if you meant what you did, then you don't treat her as a wife. But you are responsible for her financially until you do the Islamic divorce. Just a second, let me complete one thing, because this issue is involved. It's not a simple, it may look like a simple question, but Islamically and legally, it's an involved question. Because the law has a set of rules for divorce. Islamic law has its own set of rules for divorce. They don't always become congruent. They can at times agree, but most of the time they don't agree. So this has to be a discussion of. I hope you understand.
Yes.
Okay. We have less than 2 minutes.
I have
Yes.
another question.
Yes.
So I'm curious, husband and wife, both of them, if the male decides to loan her out to another,
Loan what?
loan what? To loan money or loan property to a friend. Should the husband tell the wife that he loaned money to his friend?
Finance in the family is another very long issue to address. But the short answer, and you can remind me of this later on, the short answer is all financial transactions that the wife or the husband engage in while their financial identity are separate and financial responsibilities are separate also, but because they inherit each other, whenever you dispose of any asset or any finance, your spouse has to know.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So this will be our second session on the introduction. I think we will have to have about 2 more sessions at least for the introduction, because if we don't know the rules, we will be perplexed to know why are we as Muslims doing things the way we should.
Next week, no class, maybe? Canceled next week. There's another event that's in conflict to this class.
Okay, you would send me a text note, please, or either one,
In 2 weeks, part 3 will do, okay?
whatever, but just tell me, give me a note, text notice about the cancellation, a day before or two.
Sure, we'll do.
Okay. When does this go on the internet?
It was live. It was live, so it meant it went up automatically.
But this
as we
is
were doing it.
on the Facebook page, or both?
It was live on Facebook and live on YouTube.
Okay,
Both
so,
were live.
okay, and the title was?
Family and marriage
Okay.
session.
Okay.
I'll send out